In Liverpool, in the early 2000s, 3 men were shot dead in suspected gangland attacks, which remain unsolved to this day. July marks the anniversary of no less than 3 shootings, which claimed the lives of 3 different men. Richard Clayton, Stephen Lloyd, and James Stanton were all gunned down in cold blood as they went about their days, training at the gym, leaving work after a long day, or simply sitting in an office. One of these victims, Grandad James Stanton, is believed to have been the case of mistaken identity, but Richard Clayton and Stephen Lloyd were chillingly hunted down by their killers, who remain at large to this day. Richie Clayton, 30, was shot in broad daylight on Belgrave Road, Aigburth, just before 8 p.m. on July the 25th, 2001. The dad of 2 had been exercising in a gym on the corner of Belgrave Road and Aigburth Road that afternoon, and was seen talking on his phone outside the gym when a green Ford Mondeo occupied by 2 men drove up. A masked man exited the car and approached Richie with a gun, causing him to flee down Belgrave Road. The 2 men chased after him and fired several shots, fatally injuring Richie as he tried to escape. They were seen leaving the scene in the Mondeo, which was later set alight in Buckland Street near the footbridge at St Michael's railway station. The 2 men, who remain unidentified, are believed to have run over the railway bridge towards Michael's station and into Priory Woods. Evan Clegg, Merseyside Police's head of Serious Crime Review Unit, said, 23 years is a long time for Richard's family to suffer without finding out who was responsible for his death and having to deal with the knowledge that his killers have never been brought to justice. A lot can change over time. As people watch their own children growing up, they may feel differently about what has happened or have new loyalties, priorities, and circumstances. We want to hear from those people. I would also appeal to anyone who was in the area of Belgrave Road or Aigburth Road on that evening who hasn't already spoken to us to get in touch. I know it has been a long time, but that night may have stuck in your mind, and you may have information that could help us track down Richard's killers. Stephen Lloyd, 25, was shot as he sat in his Renault Kangoo van outside the MWM services on Redfern Street, Bootle, at around 5:10 p.m. on July the 13th, 2006. The shocking murder was a suspected gangland hit, and is believed the dad of one's killer had laid in wait for him outside his place of work before firing through his van window. The masked gunman and his accomplice escaped from the scene in a white Ford Transit van. Minutes later, they dumped and torched the van in nearby Bedford Street. Merseyside Police raided a number of properties in North Liverpool, Sefton and Knowsley following Stephen's murder, and no less than 12 men have been arrested in connection in the ongoing investigation over the years. However, no sufficient evidence was found to charge anyone with the crime, and Stephen's killers remain at large. Kevin Clark, Merseyside Police's head of Serious Crime Review Unit, said, 18 years is a long time for a family to go without answers. Stephen's death remains an ongoing investigation, and we regularly review the case and will relentlessly pursue any new lines of inquiry. There are no time barriers to coming forward with information. If you know something about Stephen's murder and you haven't yet spoken to us, then I would ask that you come forward and tell us what you know. Your information may be a vital piece of the jigsaw to allow us to remove Stephen's killer off the streets and finally get justice for his family. Grandad of 8, James Stanton, was executed by masked gunmen on July the 24th, 2006, in what police believe was a case of mistaken identity. James from Thornton was shot in the back of the head as he sat in his office in Aintree Commercial Vehicles on Ormskirk Road. At around 6 p.m, 4 balaclava-clad gunmen burst into the garage and opened fire on the innocent 58-year-old, who detectives believe was not the intended victim. The hitmen were thought to have left the scene in a blue Toyota Avensis which police discovered had been stolen from Sefton Street, Dingle, 2 months before the murder, that the vehicle, which had a registration of DM53 MKK, was found burnt out on Blindfoot Road, Rainford. The following day, the murder weapons were never recovered. Police previously told the Echo they believe people within the criminal fraternity know who was responsible for the murder. Repeated appeals for information have been issued by police and James's family since the brutal murder. The crime was even featured on TV programme Crime Watch, which reportedly prompted 10 calls to the police. However, James's killers have yet to be found. Evan Clark, Merseyside Police's head of Serious Crime Review Unit, said, although much time has passed since his murder, James Stanton's family will not be able to rest until those responsible for his death are arrested, charged and brought before the courts. We regularly review such cases and never close a murder investigation. We still hope that people who have held onto information over the years find the courage to come forward. Please like this video, please comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.